Thank you for hanging in there and coming back. There's still a lot to cover. This is part 2. Let's jump right back in there, shall we? Let's go. Harry was told in the beginning that the judicial review, the public body may make the same decision again. That's what he was told. But we know Harry. It didn't take long. Statements were put out by Prince Harry. I'm not asking for preferential treatment. Well, actually, you are. And he's going to appeal the ruling. He's going to go to the Court of Appeals. Here's my personal opinion on that. First of all, he should be made to pay back the court costs that have been incurred so far by the UK taxpayer before he should be allowed to apply to appeal to this. As part of Harry's appeal, he's saying, I offered to pay the cost of protected security, but Ravik didn't take that into account. What came out in that 52-page document, however, was that it wouldn't have made a difference. It still would have been refused on the basis that he's not entitled to the protection. Harry's attorney is insisting that Ravik has not applied the rules fairly and lawfully. That's the biggest problem. What a lot of people don't understand is that they have to find that it was not an irrational decision or that it was not, what was the term they used? Procedurally unfair, that there was no unlawfulness by Ravik. And it's very interesting terms that they're using. But GB News said it, and I want you guys to listen to this because I think this explains it a lot better than I can explain it.
Here's an important point, Cameron. If he's here so at the Queen's coronation, for instance, he had exactly the same level of royal protection he would have had if he was still a member of the royal family. It's if he comes here privately, he's going to have to fork out for his own security. Yeah, and lawyers argued that the protection he has received when he's come back to the UK post-Megxit has been, and I quote, inadequate. That's what his lawyer said. That's what his lawyer said. So there was an incident during the Well Child Awards, I believe it was 2021, where he alleges his car was chased by paparazzi because he did not have that outrider's plea.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and here is the actual footage of him leaving that event. Once again, I think this shows that Harry was giving his truth, not the truth, and he's paranoid. And it also shows why the event was disputed. Harry is the only person that I know that could go from the UK and from Canada to California, where just about everybody owns a gun, and put him and his family in even more danger. In my opinion, he's in more danger in California than he ever would be in the UK. Just my thought process, but that's what I'm thinking. Remember, Harry says, my children don't feel safe in the UK. First of all, his children are so young, they wouldn't know the difference. But, the answer to that is maybe you shouldn't have left. But I like this article that says Harry's not really reading the room, because it shows Harry really is out of touch with the public mood. It's been 4 years since he left the UK to live in California, where, as the article says, every Joe Schmo has a gun. So they've been bitten by the personal protection bug. This is something he should have thought of before he left. The UK is dealing with the King's cancer diagnosis. The UK is dealing with Catherine, the Princess of Wales, from an abdominal surgery that's keeping her out of circulation for a long time. The UK is dealing with the death of Thomas Kingston. That funeral's coming up. Nobody's interested in you and your security. And for those of you who are unaware, do you know that while they were living in Canada, Canadians actually signed a petition asking why Harry and Meghan weren't paying for their own security costs and demanding that the Canadian government stop giving them the protection, which was costing a fortune. In the middle of all this, something else came to light. Do you guys remember when Harry and Meghan were leaving this award show and they claimed the paparazzi was chasing them, and they actually got some pictures of Meghan being put into a taxi cab? Let me remind you what happened. Watch this. What had happened was Meghan and Harry's security took them out of their blacked out SUV for whatever reason, put them in a taxi cab, which went around the corner and then stopped in the middle of the road, blocking traffic. And the photographers that were on bicycles, you guys, there were no other vehicles, it was bicycles, caught up with them and took the pictures. Now, there were police cars behind them. And when the taxi cab finally moved, the taxi cab went straight and to the left, which you're about to watch. And the police cars went straight and went to the right. The reason that they were going roar, roar at the taxi was because he was blocking the road. You can't block the roads in Manhattan. The cars needed to get through. They were blocking the police cars. As you can see, police cars go to the right because they had somewhere important to be. And taxi cab goes straight up and to the left. Remember this? We all knew almost immediately that something was wrong with this picture. Harry looks stricken in every photo, and Meghan is smiling, literally, in every single photo. It didn't take long for most of us to realize that this was a setup. You don't take people out of a blacked out SUV and put them in a taxi cab, which you then stop and block traffic. Look at the smile on her face. This was such a setup. And we knew, even then I said, I wonder if this has something to do with the court case. Now, the NYPD, Mayor Adams, the taxi driver all came out and said there was no high-speed chase in Manhattan. And almost immediately then it went off the rails. Harry and Meghan put out a statement almost immediately saying that the photos and videos taken that night should not be disseminated. Don't print them, and demanded that they be handed over. Well, let me tell you, Backgrid came back on that one. This is the United States, not the UK. You can't demand that we hand anything over. Everybody thought the whole situation was just very odd. All right, now it gets even more interesting because Harry and Meghan filed a police report, and they took that police report and they turned it into Ravik. Then it came out in the 52-page, Ravik thing that the car chase had nothing to do with security. It had to do with privacy. So I think what we found out is that when Harry used this car chase in his home office security row, then that to most of us was confirmation that it was a setup. Anybody who knows about Manhattan knows that you can't have a high-speed chase there. We all knew something was wrong, and this just confirmed it. So the NYPD did their investigation, and it was reported that Harry's security team was mocking the paparazzi and provoking them and doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. But there were no suspects. There's no charges pending. There's not enough sufficient evidence to charge anyone. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Are you guys ready? A letter from the NYPD was entered into the UK court case that claims that arrests were going to be made due to the dangerous paparazzi chase. The Post called the NYPD, and what they found was reckless and unacceptable behavior by the paparazzi, but they also said that Harry and Meghan's security contributed to the conditions. They did not adhere, and I'm quoting, to the NYPD proposed stop, and they said that their reluctance to go there with paparazzi was a contributing factor. Harry was insistent that somebody be arrested. The problem is there wasn't enough evidence to arrest anybody. What they're saying essentially is one letter was sent, to the UK, but a subsequent letter was also sent and entered into the filing, and which sources say was sent in error, which created confusion by suggesting that two people had been identified when the truth is that's not what happened. The individuals on scooters and bicycles, and they said that is what made the lead car take evasive action on several occasions. I have to agree with this Twitter user. I think it's pretty obvious that the car chase was set up to try to help Harry's case, and now it's backfired. The whole thing has backfired. Why am I not surprised? And once again, Harry and Meghan have now become figures of fun listen, anybody who, just go visit New York one time. Just go to Midtown Manhattan once. That's all you got to do. So in case I've confused you, this says it perfectly. The letter claiming to verify their chase story, Harry and Meghan's chase story, was sent in error. Nobody was ID'd. There will be no charges. Essentially, Harry, submitted his version of the events, which have now been proven to be untrue. At this point, something else came to light. This document. Thank you to Unlikely Bot on Twitter for this. What this shows, if you look carefully, is that everybody was notified of the decision on February 1st. So, of course, we've had the whole month where Harry went to visit his dad. They've launched their website. They've wanted to return to the royal family. The interviews, more. It makes you realize what may have been going on behind the scenes because they knew they had lost their case. And Harry maybe has money to burn. I sincerely doubt it because they're saying now that he faces an estimated £1 million legal bill. I think that the UK government should make him pay that legal bill before they allow him to appeal. He should have to pay up back to the UK taxpayers who have been footing this before he's allowed to go any further. It is being reported Harry could ask Charles to pay for the private security, but after everything that Harry has done, why would Charles do anything? And Harry's a multimillionaire in his own right. Why ask your daddy for money? He's almost 40. Could you imagine how embarrassing that would be? I think people forget that Harry is about to turn 40. He's a grown man. His wife is 43. Man up, grow up. So I agree with this Twitter user. Harry wants the privileges but doesn't want to do the work. Remember, he and Meghan work an average of an hour a week. In the middle of all of this, as if Charles needed any other problems, he was seen in London today in the State Bentley, leaving Clarence House because he was heading out for another round of treatment for his cancer. This poor man can't get a break. His son is making his life a misery. And I do believe that one of the things that Harry did was repeat a conversation that Charles had with him and William, where he asked the boys not to make his last year's a misery. And Harry is. All right, I want to remind you guys about my Patreon again. As you can see, Elephant Wanderer said that YouTube was blocking comments on my channel the day before. And you know how I'm always telling you guys to check to see if you're still subscribed? Here you go. 2 people unsubscribed without their knowledge. YouTube just unsubscribes them. Which is why I'm always telling you guys to double check and make sure you're still subscribed if you've already subscribed. But don't forget the link to my Patreon is in the description box if you want to sign up there. Now, really quickly, several people are writing and saying, I don't understand why you keep splitting your videos up. Well, number one, they're long. But number two, as you guys are aware, there's a YouTube algorithm issue and we're trying to get around it. So just bear with me. All right, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to leave those comments. I cannot wait to read them. I'm sure they're going to be fabulous. Don't forget to go into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, and my Patreon. If you've donated anything through my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.